not on there. Call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer this evening, and I'd like to say a few words of heartfelt respect for the people of France that are dealing with some very, very hardships in their lives with terrorism. A bunch of small-minded people that take the rest of the world into hostage. All right. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Disclosure of pecuniary interests. I feel I have no pecuniary interest in any of the matter on the agenda tonight, but I am going to make a statement that I am employed by BEI. I don't believe that I will make any money out of any of their adventures, as I'm not a shareholder. Nor will I lose any money because I'm not a shareholder. But I do make the declaration so that everybody is aware I'm not trying to hide any facts. Moved by Terry Miller, second by Kathy Regier. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region adopts the agenda for November 18th, 2015, regular council meeting. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Seeing none, carried. Moved by Kathy Regier, second by Terry Miller. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region adopts the minutes of the October 21st, 2015 regular council meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Moved by Terry Miller, second by Kathy Regier. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the attached schedule of general purpose accounts in the amount of $632,477.39 and water fund accounts in the amount of $12,535.50 for the period October 1st to October 31st, 2015, and that the above accounts be paid. Any questions? Councillor Jackson. 39 cents. Did I say 77? I apologize to all those. Exactly. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. So now we will move to BEI delegation. I will introduce Matt Naismith and Tom Enright. Probably should have introduced them in the other order.
No, I think you got the order right. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to run through our package. There's some. I thought it was. Is that better? Oh, there we go. Okay. So there's some updates as far as the various developments that are going on in Cobden, and we'd like to go through those so that the council has some up-to-date information, and then there are a couple of requests at the end of the package that we'd like to go through and make those requests and provide an opportunity to discuss the information involved. All right, so As far as an update goes, we've discussed this before. I wanted to start with the Wren subdivision. 73 service lots. If someone did not have that information, the benefits of the subdivision, which we've discussed before, is investing in the community. It's an increase in tax base for the community. Improvements to the infrastructure that would be put in place as a result of the subdivision. Opportunities for local businesses with a greater base. The current status, we're currently in the final submission and approval of the site servicing study. That has gone through JP2G at this point, and at this point I believe that's been approved. That needs to then be approved by council, and that will be coming here for discussion. I hope in 2 weeks' time. Is it 2 weeks? 2nd of December. Yeah.
Steve Webster, that'll be dependent on when I get the final from our engineer. We're hoping for the Public Works Committee for December 2nd. Okay.
If it needs to be pushed out, that's fine. Detailed design, that would be as a result of approval of the site servicing study. Detailed design would begin, and the intent is to have that to council for approval by the end of the first quarter in 2016. There is some prep work we're planning on getting into this fall, the stormwater management facility, and a small amount of clearing to facilitate the work on that facility. Are there any questions on that project? No? The second project currently in the works is the Bennett Farm on the edge of town. 180 plus acres just on the other side of Astrolab Road. There's the intent there is to have opportunities for commercial development, involvement already with the Cobden Fair and the Taste of the Valley. We're looking at providing opportunities for serviced and unserviced lots, opportunities to improve the recreational facilities. So I mean, there's some ideas that we have there, and as time goes on, we'll bring those forward and talk to those involved. Currently, we're in a cleanup phase. We've got all of the buildings removed except for the house. The silo came down last week in a day. It was quite an event to watch. And the house is currently being cleaned up and fixed up, and we have a renter as of today. So it's moving along. Questions there? Okay. Yes.
Can I use yours? Okay, thank you very much. Off now. I watched them take the silo down, and that was all removed by hand, and it was pretty amazing to watch. They seem to enjoy that too. I said it may be a little tougher when they're putting it back up again.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's pretty exciting to see that cleaned and positive drainage going through the gut, and that will actually aid in protecting Astrolab Road somewhat, and that's appreciated.
Okay. Next. Good. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Mackay.
I just wondered, you're gonna have to level that out. Did you level that whole field? It's kind of ups and down.
The front section along Astrolab?
Yeah.
As much as possible. We're not done yet. There is still some leveling to do there.
Yeah, that was just a matter of interest.
Yep. No, there will be some leveling there and landscaping, and get it prettied up for the spring sort of thing, so that it doesn't all wash away.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The next item is Wallace Drive, Phase 1. So we have Whitewater Brewing Company coming in, and if any of you have driven past, you'll see there's some activity going on in the last couple of weeks. Obvious benefits associated with this new business in Cobden. We've discussed in the past about it creating jobs. The brewers have talked about 20 as soon as they open the door. Helping make Cobden a destination, bringing people in and keeping them here for a little bit longer than, minutes passing through. Increased tax base, development of the area infrastructure, the water and sewer lines that will be coming up to Wallace and past, and that would allow for additional houses being added to that system above Wallace and down Wallace. The status at this point, the foundation work requires a building permit. That gets into request number 1, which we're going to talk about in a minute or two. The forms are currently being put in place, and the hope is to pour concrete as of next week, once we have the building permit. Servicing of Wallace Drive and properties, that's to start in the second quarter of 2016, and that has to do with request number 2, and we'll get to that as well. Questions? Phase 2, future development. So the brewing company is looking to take a little bit more than an acre of 3 available. We're currently looking at a potential food vendor combined with a fuel vendor. That's in the very early stages. Nothing decided at this point, but the obvious benefits seen there, jobs in Cobden, again, your tax base, and contributing to the infrastructure. Nothing in writing yet. It's just very early stage. Question?
Yeah, okay. We have to have a vote whether you can speak because you're not on the agenda, so I will ask if it's all right if this gentleman speaks, and if you do speak, you have to come to a mic and be on camera. Yes.
I think it should be up to the BI delegation whether he'd be allowed to speak or not, as this is their delegation.
Yes, that's quite correct.
He could be part of their delegation, but that'll be up to you guys.
Raj, we have had discussions with him with respect to the property. At this point, he's not part of our delegation in terms of any agreements such. If he has comments on it, I don't have issue with that.
The other opportunity we have too is to finish your delegation, your time, and then he could ask a couple questions on his own. That way we'd be a lot cleaner here.
That's probably more suitable.
Okay. Is that all right?
Okay.
With council? Ken? Okay, we'll carry on at this point then.
Okay.
And now the question that I had was, I see that from driving by that we are cleaning, stumping, and starting to landscape the second half of the property where the brewery is going. And so I guess now that we've gone back and forth here, there's definitely something can take place there in the near future because of that.
Yeah, there was the stumping was done on the portion of the property right next to Wallace Drive. The piles that are on the remainder of the property, there was more came out of the foundation hole than was expected. Amazingly enough, there's rock there. So that material is intended to be moved in the very near future. It was simply to get the foundation going. So that's what's going on right now.
And the entranceway off of Wallace, is that planned on happening at the northeast side of the lot center or closer to 17?
The intent is to have it back within, I believe, 5 to 6 meters of the back fence.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, so the first request that was referenced in the previous update has to do with the Whitewater Brewing Company building permit. There was an approval process with the MTO that, to keep it all fairly short, there was an opportunity there or a potential for major delays and significant expenses associated with the brewery simply because they had purchased a lot of their materials because they had to. The MTO, we've worked with a couple gentlemen from the MTO that have been very generous and very helpful in their activities as far as offering a conditional approval process. I believe the paperwork has been included in your agenda. What it does is it allows the building permit to be issued. Under conditions, then the occupancy permit is held until the MTO buys off the final process. The township is to ensure construction of a left turn lane at the property, and BEI then would be responsible for that design and expense. The request at this point is the memo of understanding by council be approved and signed off at this time.
We'll take a comment from our building inspector, Doug Schultz.
We are working on any way we can to help this go ahead. We talked about the MTO agreement regarding granting once they do the site plan approval. Steve Webster told us today that, Matt, that it probably would be MTO that would do that agreement.
Okay.
So,
okay, thank you.
So we should try to get MTO working on that to get it to us as quick as possible. The building permit, as far as the building permit, the plans and that are ready to go.
Okay, thank you. So the memo of understanding hinges on BEI agreeing basically to put in that left turn lane. To aid in that, I have a letter of understanding that's been signed. So this letter is to confirm that Bonashare Excavating intends to design and construct at their own expense a left turn lane on Highway 17 for the Whitewater Brewing Company project. Furthermore, Bonashare Excavating will take responsibility for the letter of credit issued to the MTO, thus absolving the municipality of any responsibility for the provision of such. This agreement relates to the MTO stipulated requirements for the conditional approval of a building permit for the Whitewater Brewing Company project, and it is understood that an occupancy permit will not be issued until an MTO clearance letter has been received by the municipality, which will be sent out upon completion of the left turn lane. Okay.
Questions for Doug. Doug, there were three items. I have to get my fuzzy. You need a fuzzy ball in this one, so this doesn't happen all the time. There were three items that we had to get to MTO, and I believe we've already got the first two, right?
I think that we've got everything that MTO needs to do their approval. Steve, we also provided Steve with some information with the drainage plan and stuff like that today. Steve Webster, our engineer, and maybe he wants to talk a little bit about it, I'm not sure.
Steve?
I think there's a slight clarification there. MTO did need from the letter that I just received the other day. I've just kind of been getting into this over the last few days. MTO did have 3 documents that were required to be reviewed and approved by them. It was the traffic report, which they have reviewed. There was also the site plan, which they have approved. But then the third item, which I believe they have not approved yet, is a stormwater management report. Okay, so that is a slight clarification that report is still not finalized, because I believe that was just submitted to MTO within the last couple of weeks. Is that correct, Matt?
It was sent in on Friday.
Right, to the same time that we received the copy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I guess Doug and I did look at the stormwater management. Right now, we do have some concerns about it. It's not really how it's being treated on site. It's what's happened when the stormwater leaves the site, and to make sure that any properties are not impacted by this drainage. So right now, I would say there's still some work to do. There's still some clarifications and some discussions that we need to have with BEI to make sure that the stormwater management is treated properly, is conveyed properly to the lake, and that's where it's ultimately going to be going. So there are still some issues that need to be resolved as far as we are concerned from that aspect, and it's really dealing with downstream property owners.
Agreed and understood. We have a letter of understanding that we've received from Mr. Wayne McLaren, who is the property owner in question, across Wallace Drive. The letter outlines 2 items on there. One having to do with the easement that would be put in place partway down the McLaren property to facilitate the natural flow of stormwater from the BEI properties. It's the intent, and I'm reading from the letter at this point, it's the intent that future stormwater management planning will be done with the goal of matching pre- and post-development runoff. In other words, what we currently have is what is going to be coming off the property after we're done. It is understood that any stormwater issues that arise as a result of future development on the BEI property at Wallace Drive will be mitigated at the expense of the current owner of said property. If there's some sort of event that goes beyond all planning, it'll be dealt with. So the current stormwater coming off that property is very, very small in volume, simply because there is only one point where it can cross the road, and that culvert is blocked. So going forward, we're going to open that culvert up so that it can handle any overflow. There will be a swale put in. There's currently a ditch running down the backside of the McLaren property, and there'll be ample opportunity for that water to get away properly.
Maybe just a clarification on that. Okay, where the concern, it's not the concern right now about the Wallace property. It's what happens when it exits the Wallace property. Because there is another property owner downstream of the Wallace, and that's really what we need to look at and make sure that that there is no impact on that property.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yep.
Councillor Jackson?
Shut it up. Whose responsibility is it to unblock the culvert if it is blocked now? Is it the township or is it MTO?
It's not an MTO road.
I presume if it's going across Wallace Drive, it's ours to clean it.
That being said, we'll look after it when we go to do the swale. I have a copy of that letter of understanding for the council. So I'll take the concerns regarding stormwater runoff after it leaves McLaren property and before it enters the lake, if it makes it that far. I'll take that back to our civil consultants and we'll make sure that it's addressed properly.
I'm not sure, this is for Bill. Bill, it comes down off the McLaren property into a ditch, crosses the road, goes down. It does not cross the road?
No, it would cross the road, Bill, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it would cross the road if it was on the Pembroke side of Wallace, correct?
Right, but the culvert that's blocked, if you open that up, it's gonna go out onto the McLaren property, and then there's a existing sort of a swell through there now, I believe, and heads toward the lake across the McLaren property.
Yep.
Okay, very good. If you'd like to continue.
Sorry? Yeah, we can. Okay, the second request has to do with servicing of the Whitewater Brewery and future businesses, et cetera, going in on the Wallace Drive property. So this has to do with investing in growth in the township. The question has been asked, and I'd like to ask it, how much would Whitewater be willing to invest to create 30 jobs? It's there in front of us, assuming an average wage. It's a large number of dollars that would be brought into the area, into the community. How many new residents? What sort of taxes? What sort of growth? All of those are, they're good questions and they're things to be considered. Will it be easier to develop Cobden before or after the highway is upgraded in the area? Yes, that's a long ways off. And that's a good thing, I would say in this case. It gives us time to do some development and grow the town and have it here for a good long time. What is the cost if Cobden and Whitewater doesn't invest? Does it maintain or does it shrink? Next. Development costs for the Wallace Drive property at this point. They're currently approaching 2.5 times the selling price for the property. BEI can't pass those on to the buyers, or they would not be able to afford it. It's becoming very obvious why it's difficult for new businesses to come into a small town like Cobden. There are amazing expenses involved. The proposal here is that BEI install a sewer line as a service lateral instead of a municipal sewer. It would be the same size and capacity. It's identical, it's just the name and the ownership. Servicing potential created then for all of the current and future residences on Wallace Drive and the west end of Cobden on Highway 17. And then, at some point in the future, when it is possible, the township purchases that sewer line and assumes ownership. We get this business coming into Cobden. We have growth. We have increased incomes, and then we have some cost sharing at some point when it is affordable for the municipality. That is the request. Questions?
Reeve Miller?
Do you guys have some figures on the cost of that sewer line?
So the site servicing plan has not been completed. It's not at that phase yet. It will begin once we get past the building permit portion, so it's very close. That being said, there was quoting activity done in the recent past to bring the sewer line up to Wallace Drive. When that was done, the figures at that point were in the range of $130,000. extrapolating from that, taking it ahead up to service the brewery site, you're looking at in the neighborhood of 200. So, is it definite? Definitely not. Do we have an idea? Of course.
Thank you.
Councillor Jackson?
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by the service lateral instead of municipal sewer. If you could explain that to me, I haven't come across something like that. Typically, if a developer is going to develop water or sewer in the municipality, they install it, they hook it up to the municipal water and sewer, and then when it's complete, they transfer the ownership over at no cost to the municipality, and that has been any development that I've ever been involved with in 20 years that I've worked with municipalities. So I want to know about this service lateral because I don't understand what you mean by that. And then how long down the line are you looking at transferring it over to the municipality? Because there are certain certain legislation, as I'm sure that you guys are aware of, that the municipality is responsible for the water and sewer once it's being utilized by a developer. And then what kind of costs are you looking at recovering from the municipality? Because at $130,000 or $200,000 for sewer, we'd probably be looking at 20 years of sewer rates that you would ever recover from for that kind of a cost for those particular users in that area that could be potentially there. So I'd be curious as to that because, like I said, usually it's transferred at no cost.
I understand that it's in other situations it's transferred at no cost. Running through the questions that you've given me, I had to write them down because I wanted to be sure I got them all. The difference between a service lateral and a municipal sewer. The municipality's sewer currently runs to the edge of McLaren's property. If it was a municipal sewer, it would extend up to the brewery. If it's a lateral, you're still stopped at the end of McLaren's, and we own the rest all the way up. It's ownership. There's no other difference. The capacity is still the same, the size is still the same. The agreement that the letter of understanding that I handed in from between BEI and Mr. McLaren also includes a point in there about including a couple of service laterals coming off that line for the use of Mr. McLaren in the future. The intent is to put it all in place so that the municipality can take it over as a functional line, never has to be changed. It's ready to go as soon as we hand it over. Ultimately, the reason for this is to share some of the costs because of the sheer magnitude of the costs involved. When would we ask to recoup the dollars associated, and how much? That's up for discussion. It's not. I haven't gone that far. We haven't gone that far.
Councillor Jackson.
And I guess it has to be reasonable for the number of users that are going to be utilizing that service. We wouldn't want to transfer those costs on to the other sewer users within the municipality to cover the cost of installing BEI's portion of the line.
Understandable.
So while you can't transfer those costs to potential owners, I would hesitate to also transfer those costs to potential and past owners as well.
Understandable.
And I also understand the need the want to develop, and we certainly, you know, are encouraging development. But on the same side, once it's handed over to the municipality, then all maintenance, future maintenance, will be paid by the municipality, and therefore there would be no cost, future cost to BEI, and that's, you know, I guess the whole intent of developing, how it normally works in the past that I'm familiar with. So I think it's important that that be recognized in any type of calculation that you do, and if the rest of council is willing to put forth money that is in a very strapped budget already. So I would really like to see the development, but not sure if I want to share in the cost.
Understandable.
The lateral would be a single pipe or twin pipes, one short, one long, manhole twinned off, or one going up with T's. Have you had any thoughts on that yet?
The laterals for McLaren's?
No, the laterals on the BEI property. I'm assuming that we would participate in the main, turned over to us, and on the property, that the stretch going across the property would be laterals, which normally doesn't pertain to the municipality. A lateral is...
That'd be correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So...
Whenever we're talking about it, it's with respect to the area, to the property be developed. It's where other users potentially would use other future, whether it's on Wallace Drive, whether that continues further up 17, McLaren's, they would also have use of those. And that's the lateral that we speak of to that. At that point in time, if we retained ownership, it would be to service that property only.
That would be correct, yeah, because on a private property. Although, if it was to extend, you still would have the right to force a hookup fee to the developer next. So it's just hopefully that enlightens people when it comes. You do, Councillor Jackson, I think.
With regards to that, and maybe it's a consideration that what you're developing is at your cost, and that any future development off that sewer line would be reimbursed back to BEI. And whether or not that is determined at time of installation, to say that, okay, that line can service 10 other properties, and those 10 other properties would be at a cost of per property. And that, I know in another municipality we did that, where it was paid up front and then collected as each person, each property owner connected to the water line. And then it went directly into the general funds because it had already been paid for by the municipality. So it wasn't actually, in fact, 10 years later being paid back to the developer. It was paid up front, and then as those are developed into furthermore properties, then it's paid directly into the general funds because it has already been paid for up front to the developer. So that's an option as well.
Okay.
Reeve Miller.
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation and all your ideas, and for doing this within Whitewater. It's exciting, and we hope it moves along. I personally, I agree with Councillor Jackson that it's hard to take the cost of this and move it to Cobden water bills and such, but I think this council also has to keep in mind the big picture. And if we want economic development, I think it's incumbent upon ourselves to find a creative way to support the initiative. So that's where I'd like us to be thinking, how can we come up with a little money to make it more attractive so these guys keep doing their good works? That's where I'd like council to go, from my personal opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Olmsted.
and I do agree with both Councillor Jackson and Reed Miller as well. If I think you have to take the whole presentation into regard. You know, if you look just at this one project, at the end of the day, it may not make sense for a current council or past council to invest in this one property and spend $200,000 on extending the line. When you take the significant contribution and investment that this company is putting into the region, and the millions of dollars that are going to go into a 73-lot subdivision and 75 plus another 75 plus a commercial development, you're talking millions of dollars before, you know, you can get a calculator and do the math. How many years before they get any kind of return on their initial investment of X number of $1 million? You're probably looking at 10 or 15 years before you actually see a return on the investments of just the properties and the infrastructure. So I agree with Reeve Miller that we need to take this holistically and come up with a creative solution. Just from a job standpoint, you often hear it's not government's job to create jobs, but it's government's job, local and provincial, to create the conditions for employment, for companies to succeed. And I honest to God, I don't know why people would want to get into business now in Ontario, because businesses are leaving in droves. So to have a possible employer on our doorstep with possible future development, I think we really need to take a hard look at this, because they could be going to outside regions outside of Whitewater, and it very nearly happened. So I think we need to be very careful here.
Thank you, Councillor Olmsted. I think it's probably prudent to explain that we have in our presence, by their own doing, a very exciting and proactive company that we want in all regards to have working with us. I have already said that I have worked for these people. When I started, there was about 60 employees. I've been with this company 4 years, and they've tripled and almost quadrupled in size in that time successfully, and have started to invest heavily in our community. Our community was going nowhere at record pace, and now we have an opportunity to grow. And BEI is one of our greatest advantages for this opportunity. So, having said that, I think what we need to do is to have a special meeting on this discussion, of this particular discussion, so that we have more time and you have put together more of what you really would like to see. And knowing that we are very receptive, but don't get crazy. But we are very receptive, and we are, as Chris and Terry said, and Charlene and everybody here agrees, we're very excited with what this has started to produce in our municipality. People are watching this, and if this moves ahead, people are going to come. We build it, you build it, the people will come. We will grow, and it's exciting, and we're just kind of glad to be part of this. So I'm all for it personally.
We appreciate the comments and the support. It's been a good experience in the last several months. Thank you.
Moved by Dave Mackay, seconded by Kathy Regier. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region will enter into a legal agreement with MTO to construct a left turn lane on Highway 17 for the Whitewater Brewing Company project, with the understanding that BEI will be responsible for the design and construction costs, and that BEI will issue a letter of credit to MTO, and that no letter of credit will be required for the municipality. The municipality agrees not to issue the occupancy permit for the project until a clearance letter is received from MTO upon completion of the left turn lane prior to the opening of the business. Any further discussion? Councillor McLaughlin.
I'm not sure, and I realize that the expense is going to be at BEI's cost. Is that in the motion?
Yes.
Okay, if it was, then...
Yeah, wait, we got... Yeah, design, there...
Okay.
I can read it again if you
No,
wish.
that's fine, as long as it's in there, that's what my biggest concern is.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried? Okay. I'll get permission from Councillor Regier and Reeve Miller that we table this next motion to a Public Works Committee special meeting. Oh yeah, regarding the sewer line and the negotiations and so forth. As I said, it gives BEI an opportunity to pin some other issues. Councillor McLaughlin?
I'm just wondering if that shouldn't go under environmental services rather than public works.
I shall correct. Oh, you can spell environment. We have changed it to environment. All those in favor? Thank you. Mover and seconder. Yep. Well, if that's the BEI delegation is happy.
Very happy.
Yeah, it's like that song. I'll give you my phone number, you call me, I'll make you happy. Yes, well, we gotta get him a mic, people. We gotta get him a mic.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah, our pleasure. Keep up the good work. Okay. I will get you to introduce yourself. I do know you own the service station in Renfrew. I forget which company it is.
Irving Oil.
Irving Oil.
And it's my pleasure to be here with all you people, and definitely we would like to open business here. And as Matt said before, it's benefit for all of us if we do it quickly before the highway comes. So the other thing is that I already approved SO on the site. So SO is approved for 6 months, trademark is approved for 6 months. So if we have to get extension, I'll have to get extension. But before that, there's the two things that I am stopping me for development is the sewer and high entrance from the main highway. So those are the two things stopping me. Other than that, we're ready. So, and the other thing, we are also talking with McDonald's and Tim Hortons. So one of the franchise will be coming, most likely. So there will be one food franchise and one SO gas station. And we'll create at least, only the gas station will create 10 jobs, with 4 or 5 full-time jobs and 4 or 5 part-time jobs. And if food franchise comes in, that will be at least 20 to 25 jobs. So I'm really looking forward for this, and we also need your support, so.
We support, you can see, we support businesses. That's our deal. We support people, for sure. Yep. Excellent.
And then, it will be very nice, if things move quickly, and then we can start, planning early in the spring. I will need some setbacks and all that, and as soon those two things are clear, I can get into agreement with BI, and then I can start the planning and getting the TSSA approval, so we can start digging in April or May.
That's exactly right. Just 1 to 20. 1, 2, keep moving. Our building inspector is a great man to deal with, and this council is great to deal with.
Thank you so much.
Good luck, and just start at 1. Councillor Olmsted.
Sorry, I just assumed one thing, and maybe I shouldn't assume it, but the left-hand turn lane that's currently on record now, and anything I reads that lane on Highway 17 for Whitewater Brewery project, but I'm assuming that lane would be for the entire property, that the property would be set up that the left-hand turn lane would be okay for any, not that we're gonna need for another left-hand turn lane for if another business goes in there. No. Right?
So that left turn lane is currently designed for the brewery only, because that's all that we currently have in place. There is some discussion with MTO about continuing that down in the east, towards the east of the village. That one, it's not necessary at this point. If it's required at some point in the future, then it gets done then. They don't go ahead and develop based on what might happen.
They can't do it for hypotheticals.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.